Hi, it's Paul Camillos. Welcome to Series 5 of Shooting the Breeze. Join me and my co-host Jacinta Gavin as we talk to inspiring players, amazing coaches and the legends behind the scenes and at the grassroots of the game. This marks the start of our 4th year of covering women's hoops and women in hoops, and throughout the series we welcome experts like Linden Moore from New Zealand and other special guests from across the world to get a global picture of the game. During this series, we'll take a closer look at the grassroots and the passionate people at the community level. And of course, the 30th edition of the FIBA Women's Asia Cup was recently held in Sydney, where the Opals took bronze and Asia's best players put on a show. Hit that subscribe button, and to show your support, rate and leave us a review on iTunes so we reach more listeners.
We've got Kiwi players coming home to play. We've got international stars that are about to be announced. We've got WNBA drafted players coming to play. I mean, it is an amazing opportunity for Kiwi basketball.
Look, I'm just really pleased for our program and for the nation that we're actually here at this point. So more than anything else, I think it's a real celebration for us and something we've worked very hard to get.
If we're trying to compete with, like I said, the top 16 teams, we need to have a domestic league just to keep the engagement and this kind of feel of these tournaments alive. So I'm super excited to be a part of it.
Welcome to the first of our 3-part series, looking at the Tauihi League with New Zealand expert Linden Moore and returning pod guest Maia Williamson, hailing from the Canterbury region. We're talking about the rise of Kiwi women's hoops on the world stage, the second season of the Tauihi League, and one of its innovations, the Rapid League. Probably most exciting is the exchange of Aussie and Kiwi players between the Tauihi and the WNBL, raising the level of play and opportunities for athletes. Enjoy. Welcome to Shooting the Breeze. Today it's a special episode. We're going across the pond to New Zealand. And joining us, Linden Moore and Maia Williamson. And guys, welcome, and over to you.
Hi, Maia. Welcome back on the pod.
Oh, so happy to be here. Love it.
A little bit of a duo, I think, kind of going because, see, whenever I seem to see you at tournaments, I can't get away.
Oh, yeah, people can't get enough of me when they see me.
It's just your energy, I think. But anyway, seriously, welcome back on the pod. I think you're really the first Kiwi guest that we've had on twice. We always love to bring people back. I think this is a really good time. Yeah, with just a lot of great stuff happening. So excited to share this journey with you and have you back on the pod.
Absolutely. The Kiwi duo strikes again, eh?
People will not be able to get enough of us.
I know.
And I think this is going to be, I may be foreshadowing a little bit, pardon me if I am, but I think this may not be the only episode like this, so people will get used to it.
Oh, stay tuned, everyone.
Well, that's true, because we are going to do a series about the Tauihi League because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on over in New Zealand in hoops at the moment. Before we get into the Tauihi League, I want to throw something out that we heard from Guy Malloy during a post-game presser at the Asia Cup. So I'll just talk to you guys about it after it finishes playing.
You know, that elevates us to top 16 in the world kind of thing in terms of the next stage tournament. I think that's really got people genuinely excited, and I know that the Tauihi season begins soon in New Zealand, and I'm really hoping that has a dramatic lift in standard from last year, because that's the hard thing to hold on to, the lessons that the players have learned from this Asia Cup. They can't let the lessons go, and they're the points that we want to hit home.
Okay, so there's a bit there from Guy talking about the positioning of the team within Women's Asia Cup, and on top of that, the quality of the Tauihi League in terms of helping develop New Zealand basketball and also keep that standard going that was achieved during the Asia Cup. And obviously there's been a lot of imports this season to the Tauihi League as well. So I'm going to throw it over to you guys now and fill us in on what's been happening over there.
It's been exciting. I'm trying to figure out the descriptive way to describe what's happening here in New Zealand. But I think exciting is probably one of the best ones I can come up with at the moment, to be honest. It's like you said, Paul, there's been a lot of imports there. And I think in terms of the league standard, what we're seeing this year, I would say that it's a little bit different from what we saw in the inaugural season last year. And that's not different in a bad way. It's just, I mean, obviously the level of play has stepped up. We're seeing more Tall Ferns that have come home. And there's been some shuffling around. And when you mentioned imports, there's been some new ones that I've been really pumped to see. And I know fans have been really excited about. And then some who, like Florencia Chagas, who was signed to come back and was an MVP favorite for the Tokomanua Queens. But she was given another offer in Italy that was just too hard to turn down. And the Queens on their end said, hey, go get your bag, girl. We're always going to be here. And so her presence, someone like her is missing the season. They've certainly found a way to fill the void, add to the quality. So there's been a lot of sparks. What do you make of it, Maia?
Yeah, it's been super exciting, and I think it's been an absolute build on last year's inaugural season, like you said, Linden. It's built women's basketball in New Zealand, and it's drawn more attention to it. So I think there's a lot of more attention paid to this season than last season. And then as well, obviously, it's put us more on a world stage. So the quality of imports we've been able to get in has been pretty incredible. We've seen some really impressive performances from them so far. So yeah, it's been super exciting, and just the traction that it's built so far already and the basketball that's been played, it's been a really even competition so far, which is super hopeful for the rest of the season. So, yeah, I'm loving it.
Yeah, and on that point, it's when you say, Maya, it's really interesting when you say it's been more of an even season so far. And now, for the listeners, we're only 2 rounds in, going into round 3. But it definitely has been, I feel like, because last year, really, the top of the table for the majority of the season and up until the grand final was the Queens and the Northern Kahu. So this year, I feel like everybody came back with a roster. And when you look, if you take paper to paper from what we saw last year to this year, there's definitely been some shuffling. But, some teams have made some drastic changes. The Phi and I think the Hoi Ho are the two that stand out for me, and I'm sure we can get into that. But otherwise, some of the teams brought back a lot of their core this year, and I think, and back to, Paul, when you played that clip from Guy when he said talking about maintaining that standard, a lot of those Tall Ferns that we saw in the Asia Cup team are in Tauihi this year, which is fantastic because, and a lot of them are actually on the Northern Kahu, and so they've played together before. Coach Jody Cameron jumping in there, taking some of those Tall Ferns and being able to, they're working together and they've got some building to do, but working to keep that standard high. So it's, definitely good signs.
Can I just ask for clarification? There's more New Zealand players playing in New Zealand in this season of the Tauihi League than there were last season?
I would say so. I mean, that's my perception. Maya, what's your sense?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of the Tall Ferns have come home to play.
I think also, besides Tall Ferns are a big talking point, so welcome home, Panina Davidson. I've been saying that left, right, and front and center, but she's finally back. Talia Tupai, who we all saw debut this year at the Asia Cup, New Zealander, she's here. But also the ones who I think that have really stuck out for me in terms of the ones who are home and who are really been performing are McKenna Dale for the Phi and Tegan Graham for the Queens. And they're both home after college seasons. So, and McKenna, I'm not sure when last time she was in New Zealand, because she grew up in the United States. So to have her home, so it's been a lot of faces that maybe people would have heard about overseas, but finally being able to play in front of the home crowd. This is the 2 that have been so far that we've seen the most of it for sure. And it's saying too, Maya, because with the Pua guy going down to your neck of the woods, there's been a bunch of, there's a real local flavor, eh?
Yeah, definitely. Lots of Kiwi girls who kind of been born and raised there, or girls who have moved from the country. So Ezra McGoldrick's finally back home. She obviously had a few seasons with various teams last season with the Phi. Rosie Samia also played for the Phi last year, as well as Sian Rabati. So we've got 3 ex-Phi players playing for our Poakai squad, and then obviously we've got Lauren Hippolyte and then Olivia O'Neill, who played for the Hoi Ho last year. And various other extended roster / development players, all that are Christchurch based. So it's pretty cool to see a lot of talent come from where we are from. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, same too. Because if people have seen my Instagram, it seems very St. Andrews College based. You'll see a lot of same faces. Maia will know what I'm talking about. But Maia Williamson and Maddie Morrow being two of the alumni from there who have, they're home from their college season at the Academy of Art University in San Francisco, I believe.
Yeah.
They're playing, and then along with Lauren Whitaker and then Kavana Lenny, who are current year 13s at St. Andrews. So, like you said, Maya, there's just been a surge in development. I feel like we've seen that around the country too, but the Poakai definitely have a local feel. In terms of the coaching staff too, they've got, I would say probably out of all of them, they're probably the most locally sourced, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Josh Thompson, the head coach, and then Cam Wilson and Sam Watkins, all Christchurch-based and born and raised, I believe. So it's pretty cool to see that they've been able to keep here and give back, and they've kind of been building their way through Canterbury basketball, and then obviously have worked hard enough to get themselves in that position. So it's a real cool feel of like a overtime build that everyone's kind of worked toward this point, and it shows how much their hard work has kind of paid off.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's really cool to see. Saying because last year, I think another notable shift is a loss for New Zealand. Great for herself as Tully Bevilacqua, who was the coach the Poakai last year. I know Australian basketball fans will be familiar with her, following her closely, but she's now at the Venus Mercury, so hard to be mad about that, even though we miss you, Tully. But also great news for Josh and co, for, like you said, Maya stepping up and getting that opportunity.
Can I just ask, there seems to have been a lot more imports that have come in to the league this season compared to last season. Would I be right in saying that?
I believe it's the same number. I think every team is allowed 3, I believe. I don't think that's changed, but I think maybe in terms of, I think the quality possibly may seem like a shift has happened. That's my understanding, at least.
Yeah, I think last year the number has been 3 this year and last year, but I'd agree that the quality has probably improved based on the success of last year's season, most likely.
But the one I do want to be remiss if I didn't say is Kennedy Leonard, all the way from Great Britain down to Christchurch. What a pickup.
Absolute pocket rocket. That's the best way to describe Kennedy.
From the car park. I mean, she can launch those triples. And if you're not darting her, then it's going to be tough and you're going to pay for it later. Yeah, she's crazy good.
Yeah, she's a problem. She is a problem.
Yeah, so I'd say that's been good. And I think also when looking back at the Queens, and you say, Stephanie Watts, Priscilla Carr, who has just been an absolute rocket for the Queens in the 2 games that they've played, Maya Dodson. And also, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention on the import level of the Southern Hoiho, Ashton Pretzel. I don't know, Maya, if you don't want to see her at all, but she has been an absolute beast.
Yeah, I mean, she got Performance of the Week in round 1. 25 points, 21 rebounds, she was absolutely phenomenal and put on an absolute clinic. And then obviously in round 2, she was just as consistent as that. So, and it's cool to see Hoiho, obviously, who finished bottom of the ladder last year, to now be undefeated and top of the ladder so far in the season, only after 2 rounds, of course, but it's cool to see what a turnaround they've had. Obviously had a real success with the import, because you never know really how imports are going to go. It's pretty touch and go. Sometimes you expect one thing and they come and they show a whole different thing. But yeah, it's pretty cool that she's been pretty dominant. And I think all the imports have really lived up to their hype this far.
Yeah, 100%. And living up to the hype, really exciting news was the Kahu will have Tess Magden coming in. So that's something for fans to look forward to. So an Australian Opal coming over. So she's just, I can only imagine what she's going to add, and having seen her play and her leadership style, to have her in the mix and just in the league, I think is going to better it in general. The Phi have some interesting imports as well. I feel like everybody across the board has brought in really quality players to try and complement the styles of play that, that they're aiming for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So have there been, from the US, have they been typically coming out of college during a college break, or are they people who tried for WNBA, or what sort of players are we seeing in the league coming from the States?
Yeah, there's been a lot of WNBA draft picks. I believe there's either 8 or 9. I don't know what the final number was that were drafted. So Stephanie Watts, probably no name to Sydney Flames fan, because she was there for a little bit in WNBL, played with Shyla Heal.
Yep.
So she was one. Maya Dodson. So there's been some really good, I think Chris Limpar, I think there may have been a stint in there too for her. And then
Maia Wilson from the Phi as well was a first round pick.
Yeah. Oh, Alia Wilson. Apologies, Alia. Gotta give her due. So she was, and then Ashton Pretzel was selected in the last round of this year's draft to Connecticut. She did get a game or two in, which was really cool. And so she, I guess then she signed down here after that. So all of them pretty much have WNBA experience.
I'll just jump in there. I think a few of them as well have had Pro Bowl experience elsewhere too. So a lot of them, if not drafted into WNBA, have played some kind of like EuroLeague or Australian League. So a lot of the imports that we've had have had some kind of professional experience. I think I only noted a couple that have come straight from college.
Yeah, and it's also too Michaela Cowlin, and she's been all over the world, and she's playing for the Fire right now. She was at Cal Berkeley, and then she's been playing, in Europe and some other places ever since. So she's done a variety of experiences I know she's bringing here. I haven't seen much of her yet, but it's going to be, I feel like she's going to be a firecracker.
Yeah, and I think that brings a certain level of like professionalism and like skill to the league as well. Like they've obviously seen what professional leagues look like and operate like in different countries, and they kind of bring that quality here, which I think boosts our quality as well. And obviously we can learn a lot from those who have seen how successful professional leagues operate overseas.
Yeah, and to mention Imari Thomas too, who plays for the Kahu. She played actually with Tera in Finland. Apparently, so she came on recommendation from Tera over there in the season that just passed before they came down here. And, she was a workhorse against the Queens this past weekend on Sunday. So, in that, what they call the grand final rematch, she was just, on fire. So I think it's been great, honestly. It's been really fun, and the games have been interesting no matter what. But having that injected spark has been, I mean, you never know what's coming. Absolutely, yeah. And I think, too, to talk about with me, if we're going to transition, the imports have been amazing. One of them made sure we talk about the locals, too, because they've been great.
Yeah, and that's actually something else that I think a lot of people outside of New Zealand, because, New Zealand hasn't had a high international profile over the last few years, we don't really have a real understanding of the New Zealand talent, except for, specific names that we hear about, like Lauren Hippolyte, like the Walker Ledger sisters, Penina Davidson. It's kind of, you hear those names and then you don't hear a whole lot after that about what must be, a fairly talented group of players.
Yeah, it's deep. And I think if this shows anything that, what we've seen, especially in cross years, and I think every team this year is trying to really utilize the development player spots to develop the younger ones. So you'll see a lot of the high schoolers coming through, and I'm going to point out, Victoria Tamilo, obviously up here in Auckland, but she's, but people aren't necessarily seeing her, but she's had one wicked month of June where she was playing on Prem's Friday nights and then got thrown to Tall Ferns for 2 tours, and now she's, last time with the Kahu, and so she's been everywhere. But there's been, you're right, Paul, I think people will have heard, Penina's name, Crystal's name, those who have been in the WNBL. But, I think Lauren Maia is one of them that has put people on notice. Yeah, I think every team has a really strong local supporting cast that goes alongside their imports. Obviously, the imports generate a lot of team quality and scoring because that's what they're brought in to do. But, a lot of the leadership comes from the local girls. Like, Lauren Hippolyte is probably our strongest leader in the Poakai, just because of her experience and, the feel that she has for the game and just the person she is. And obviously I don't have that personal experience with the other Tauihi teams, but everyone has a strong local base that I think they are good enough players to go and play in the NBL 1 overseas, or even get a DP contract in WNBL, or go anywhere else in the world. That kind of level has definitely improved, and that's even just beyond the Tall Ferns squad as well. The Tall Ferns squad that went to the Asia Cup, obviously super talented, but there are still local girls here who are talented themselves as well. Yeah, 100%. Anything along the lines of Zoe Richards, who was also on the pod a couple of months ago. Yeah. She's stepping up her game, and also cool to say her sister, Bertani, she's playing this year. I think the Hoiho, what's interesting about that is Samara Gallagher. They had a core group. I think they've done a nice job so far taking the players that they had last year, even though it wasn't necessarily the result that they wanted. The girls who were playing last year and they had a core group, and then they weaved in some other imports, and it seems like it's meshing really well. And to your point, Maia, there's been a strong cast of Kiwi talent that just complements what the imports bring. And I think it's been singing in harmony for the league and for New Zealand so far.
Okay, so one of the things that I've been curious about is the new innovation for this season, the Rapid League. Now, this is something that, unless you've been watching the games, nobody knows anything about. I'd love to hear from you guys how it works and also what you think and what's the feedback been from the fans.
Yeah, it's, I'm ready to jump at Maya. Do you want to go first?
It's the first of its kind ever, which is really cool that we get to debut that in New Zealand. So basically it's a mini game, so it's 4 quarters of 4 minutes prior to the actual Tauihi game, and you start 5 players that will not start in the Tauihi game. So basically its goal is to develop those who aren't going to play as many minutes in the Tauihi game. So that could be your development players or your lower bench players who don't get to play as many minutes. And it's really cool. Like, it's got its own MVP. It counts for points on the ladder. So it's like its whole own little league, but also contributes to the Tauihi League as well. So we've seen a lot of, it's a really different style of basketball as well. It's super fast, like super hectic, like kind of looks like a scrimmage sometimes, but it's super cool because, like, especially those players who travel as deep bench for a Tauihi game, they may never see minutes, and sometimes for them that feels like I've just travelled all this way, taken my time out, and I've just sat on the bench the whole time. But for them it's more rewarding because they've played like 12 to 16 minutes of basketball and they may not even get on the court in the Tauihi game, but they see minutes in the Rapid League, and there's that development for that as well. So it's really, really cool, and like it's obviously had a lot of success so far, and everyone's been loving it that I've heard of so far. I don't know about you, Linden, what you've seen or heard of it.
It's cool. I didn't really know what to expect. I had read about it when it was first released and everything. I think it's a cool innovation, and like you said, Maya, it provides a lot of value for the players who travel around the country with the team but don't necessarily get to play many or any minutes. So I found a couple of things interesting is because, like you said, it's its own little league, so it counts for points on the ladder. To that point, it's been really cool to see teams experiment, but then also what I saw with the Queens on the first night was, Grace Hunter, Latava Kenny, some of the ones who were playing in the Rapid League, they ended up playing the Tauihi game too. So sometimes they end up getting more court time than they probably envisioned, depending on the situation. So it's, early days, but it's been really cool. And, I think the players are, I think it's going to take some getting used to, but it's definitely cool to see. And I think the fans, you get there an hour earlier, and I definitely think it's worth getting there earlier to see.
Yeah, and it's cool because, like you said, like we can experiment. So that Puakai game, because we're still waiting on 2 imports, and then we were still waiting then on 2 or 3 of our other core group. So, like, the likelihood of us winning that Tauihi game was, touch and go. So we started 2 of our, like, strong core in the Puakai and the Rapid League, and then in the Tauihi game, started 2 of the DPs and just subbed them off straight away, like 20 seconds of game time, and they got a sub. Because that's technically legal, but like obviously since it's a pilot season, like you can kind of experiment with things like that, and they won that Rapid League game, so they got a point on the board. Didn't win the Tauihi game, but they got a point that night, so that kind of thing, it's fun to experiment with those kind of things. And additionally, like, it's a really cool opportunity for assistant coaches to lead that Rapid League. There's not a whole lot of coaching because there's no timeouts allowed, but what I've seen of a lot of teams so far with the Rapid League, the head coach has taken a backseat, and one of the assistant coaches has been the head coach of that Rapid League. So it's kind of like it's a development for more than just the players.
Hang on, no timeouts?
Yeah, the players can call a player timeout, 1 each half, so that can be like in play, like the NBA do. But yeah, no coach timeouts at all because the quarters just go. Like it's such a
4-minute quarters. It's like
it really is the Rapid League.
It's rapid. Well, someone apparently called it the rapid fire, and so the person I was talking to, they just call it the rapid fire. I was like,
that would be fair enough.
Fair enough.
You blink and it's over.
Well, seriously, because if you're not watching, it's literally blink and you'll miss it. Like you said, besides the player timeouts, there's not a lot of stoppage time.
No.
So it is the quickest basketball game I've ever seen in my life.
Great fitness.
Okay, so 1 player timeout per half?
Yeah.
That's it?
Each team.
Yeah. 4 4-minute quarters?
Yeah.
You can't play the starting 5?
No.
Okay, so here's the big question that comes to me, and I'm sure anybody else who's just hearing about this. What happens like in terms of trying to manage the legs for 6 through 8 maybe?
I did forget to mention this as well. You're allowed to have 7 players. So obviously it becomes a little bit more niggly when you travel.
Yeah.
So if you take 10 or 11, you just got to have some fit girls in there. But like at home, you may have a roster of 12, so you can play kind of like the deepest of the deep, and then hopefully you've just got some really fit girls from 6 to 9-ish. But I think that has definitely obviously been a concern, that there will be some kind of fatigue setting in. And I think that's been a challenge for the coaches, is learning to manage that kind of thing. But I think like the reality is, in close games, like your starters and your 6 and 7 play quite a hefty load of minutes, and then you've got your supporting crew that play 10, 12 minutes. So it can be a big night for some girls, but I think so far, I think it's been managed pretty well. I don't know what you've seen, Linden.
Yeah, I think it's, like you said, it's been a lot of experimentation. I think where we're going to see the tire legs is going to be toward the end of the season. Again, we're only 2 rounds in. It's been an adventure, and I think because, like you said, there are going to be teams who are going to do whatever they can to get that point. Yeah, it's definitely, and you can tell like some of them are still adjusting to the style of play a little bit, because it's you've got to be on it. But it's been great to see, and they also have their own captains too. And so it's cool to see everything just working on, kind of gelling. But man, I get tired just watching it.
Yeah, seriously, sitting on my couch, I'm like, whew.
Last week I was in person. I was just and somebody said, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm sorry, I'm just wet. I
need a break.
I need my water." No, but it's been great, and I think not necessarily concerned, but going forward, is if there are injuries or whatever, and how is that the load management's going to go? As we pressed into the second half of the season and the finals.
Well, talking about second half, the first thing that came up for me as you were talking this through was, when we start getting down to the pointy end of the season, how is this going to play out? I mean, it's all speculation at the moment, but I'm really curious how this is going to play out. And also, and I don't know if you guys have an answer to this, when you get into the final series, is there going to be a Rapid League game before the final series?
I think so, yeah. I think it's because it's pretty much a reflection of the Tauihi, but like just minimised in its own league. So yeah. I think it does have its own winner and MVP and everything. So obviously, like, it's hard to know like really how that's going to fan out. At the moment, it's all going great, but it's been 2 rounds, so
the crystal ball has a big question mark.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I'm quite really interested to see how it's going to play out, because I mean, I look at teams now, keeping in mind that most teams, other than the Kahu, injuries haven't been an issue yet. When I say the Kahu and the injuries, because Talia Tupaya, where the shoulder has been a bit of a concern. And so it's, Jody and crew have had to get creative with who they're starting. So, Sunday we saw Eliana Tuiteti, apologize if I mispronounced that, but it's, she was starting when she would normally be in the Rapid League. So they have to kind of play around and they have one more roster spot to fill. So until they fill that, it's how's that gonna go, and who's gonna be playing and when. So it's gonna be. I honestly have no idea. It's a big vortex as far as I'm concerned.
I think it's like,
I can close my eyes.
I think that's the beauty of experiment, though. Like, it's cool that they get to kind of play around with it and see how it goes. Like, if it's not a success, it's not a success. But I think it's kind of a cool innovation to at least give it a crack, and then maybe you can make some adjustments for next season. But you never know what's going to happen, and it'll be interesting to see how these guys hold up, because they're fit, but who knows if they're that fit.
It's going to be really cool. I mean, I love it. I think it's a great concept, and I love the fact that we're seeing, the women that we normally wouldn't get to see. So I think like the overall idea of having them play and giving them their own league is just cool.
You touched on something that I wanted to ask about. Talia Tupaya.
Yep.
Right. We saw her at the Asia Cup. Typically, she was wearing bandages on the shoulder. How is she going?
Haven't gotten a straight answer. I just want people to know that this is based on what I saw, and one of the few, from a couple of conversations I've had around the camp. It's going to be tough. She had her shoulder popped out a couple times, and it broke my heart because you could see her face and you could see everybody else's face, and it was not the happy kind. So I think the load management for her is going to be key. I think it's going to be a little bit tougher because the thing is right now, where the state of the union, so to speak, right now with the team is the reigning MVP. She is back. When she's healthy, when her shoulder isn't hurting, she's doing triples and she's doing Talia things that we know her to do and that we love. And it's just how long are we going to get that? And the thing is Penina, she's playing 30 to 40 minutes a game like we saw in the Asia Cup, and her, she's fit, but I'm not sure she can hold up that long. So it's going to be tough for them to manage. But as far as I know, Talia's still going to be playing. I think they're just having to work out right now where that's going to be, and they're going to watch her extremely carefully. Now, where does that place throughout the season? Does she play some games? Do they save her anticipation for the second half? I don't know. From what I understand, it looks like she's still training. So, she's definitely not shut down, but it's I think there are signs that, it may not be what we saw last season from her, and which is unfortunate, but you never know. It could get better.
So has anybody sort of raised anything about her potentially having to have surgery?
I don't want to confirm anything, but I've heard around that it's, I won't say surgery is not an option, but I think it's finding the right time to do that. So, but it sounds like it's definitely on the table from what I've heard, but when and how long the recovery time is going to be, I don't know.
Well, obviously we want to see her on the floor. We want to see her playing.
Well, I think, everybody does, and she was a favorite too. And I know she was a key piece that the Tauihi wanted to bring back, and from my understanding, she enjoys playing. The girls love having her. The team loves having her around. And, she's only made it better. And she's someone who, at least in my opinion, has just raised the standard from what we saw last year. And, just somebody with that kind of talent. You never want to see anybody go down. But this early in the season is kind of a blow.
Okay, so I'm going to throw out another question, which I'm sure, people in Australia may want to hear an answer to. And that is, do you think that Tauihi may, with Tess Madgen, coming over, do you think that the Tauihi League may end up seeing more WNBL players coming over to play in the league and also use it as a way to kind of get match fit for the WNBL season?
Maia, I'll let you do it first if you want to.
I mean, possibly, yeah. There's also the associations have to obviously allow that to happen too. But we've seen it a little bit in the NBL season. Obviously don't want to talk too much about the boys, but I mean...
We're mentioning the Canterbury Rams won the title though.
Yeah, good job, boys. Good job. I think we see a few WNBL imports who do come here and use this as kind of like an off-season thing, get better, and then hopefully find another contract back there. But I think the Aussie inputs will come here and provide a lot, but they'll compete. I don't think they'll completely dominate and walk all over everyone. I think they'll be influential, but not to the point where it's just like a off-season scrim before they come back to the WNBL, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm with Maia. I think I hope it opens the door, and because the NBL won, there have been players like Penina who's finished champ season and came over. Zoe's played in the NBL one, so there's been precedent of players, who've come over and vice versa. It's a great win that now I think with the competition increasing and the level and the standard is going on, I would certainly foresee in the future this would probably be a landing spot that people would want to seek out because it's close. New Zealand's a great place to be for many reasons. And, again, the quality is up there. And then, I would imagine that most of them just thinking very high macro level that would come over would be Tauihi players and not necessarily maybe or may not play Rapid League. But, there's that option too. So, I would love to see Tess set the precedent for more WNBL player in Talia, to come over.
Yeah, it's just because of the timing of the start and the finish of the Tauihi League, it's a great opportunity for WNBL players to be able to, particularly, to play in the Premier League in New Zealand. And to me, I think it's not necessarily going to be a big performance difference, like you said, Maia. I think it's more about, that match fitness that comes at playing at that Premier League level. It's just one of those things that I'm really curious to see how that develops over the next few seasons.
Yeah, I mean, if we can... Sorry, Linden, to
go for it.
You. If we can, as New Zealand and Australians, help each other in that sense, like Australian imports come over and strengthen our league and develop the girls around them, and then they develop a lot themselves in terms of fitness or skill development and then go back to Australia and bring that back. Like, I think it's cool that we could work with each other rather than having to kind of compete. Like, I think women's basketball just needs to work with each other everywhere. So if we can do that, like, yeah.
Not like...
Thanks, Linden. Getting the snaps from Linden. Let's go.
That's the take-home message right there, Maya. You nailed it.
Yeah, not like the rugby.
Yes.
Your face when you said that.
Okay, so you've both mentioned a few times that you're only 2 rounds into the season and round 3 is about to start.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so a couple of things in relation to this. I was looking at the schedule, and it looks to me like there's more, and maybe it's my memory playing tricks on me, but it seems like you've got more midweek games than there were last season. Is this like a scheduling thing that's arisen from facility availability, or spread the load out across more days to be able to do the TV coverage?
I have my theories, but Maya, I don't know if you've heard anything officially.
You go ahead, Linden.
It's definitely, that was the one thing that for me is probably the most different from last year's in terms of the scheduling. And to me, it's not as consistent, and especially for someone like myself who tries to get around to as many of the games as I can, it's a little bit different. I would imagine it's a combination of, I think, just facility costs and then also TV coverage. Now, there's also the factor of Denison North Kahu again, because where they normally play Event Finder on the North Shore, it was flooded in the January floods and the cyclone. So that is their floor is currently being redone. So they had to hop around. And so what's nice for them is they're going to Franklin and South Auckland. They're going to go to Whangarei in a couple of weeks. So they're really representing the region. But with that comes the logistical, logistics and stuff like that. So, but there are a lot of midweek games. I looked at the schedule and at the venues, and the only ones who have really shifted are the Queens who are now in Portalua. And I think that was purely a cost thing, because where they were last year was at TSB in the Central District, and that was bloody expensive. So I think it's probably a mix of the facilities availability and for the TV coverage. That's going to be my guess, but it's certainly caused a maze when figuring out the planning.
I'm curious, and I'm sure a lot of other people are really curious about how have the first 2 rounds gone. I've seen a couple of games. I haven't seen as many as I'd like. So overall, from your perspective, have you seen the first 2 rounds of the Tauihi League developing?
All the games have been close contests so far, which has been really cool. And like I said earlier, the Hoiho, who were the bottom of the table last year, who didn't actually make it to the Final Four, sadly enough, are on a team to miss out, are now heading up, like they're number 1 on the leaderboard. And then obviously the Kahu, who were probably the most dominant team for a majority of the season last year, who have a really impressive lineup, have lost a few and dropped a few, but that's likely because not their full roster has come in yet. I think that's something important to note as well. Most teams are still under strength, still waiting on imports to arrive or be healthy, or some girls are still coming from the end of the NBL 1 season. But yeah, we've seen a lot of close contests so far. I don't think any game has been out of reach really for anyone.
No, it's been crazy good. Like you said, it's been close because I was watching the Phi and Paukai game, and my goodness, they were trading balls back and forth. Like that was, McKenna Dale, Kennedy Leonard, Lauren Hipple. I mean, you name it, they were firing off the threes, and so it's been great. When we say the Rapid League has been going, that goes by quick. I feel like I blinked and the first 2 rounds were over, and maybe also part of that was the scheduling and. Depending on the days that they play, it's like, wow, everything, now we're done. But it's been great. I will say the opening game, I think it was a little bit, not like the nerves were there, but I think for some of the players it definitely was. So I don't think it was necessarily indicative of the performance. And like Maya said, which is a great point, a lot of teams are under strength. So it makes me wonder what it's going to look like, because if these are the teams under strength and we're seeing these type of games, it's going to be crazy, when everybody's back to where they intended to be.
So it sounds to me like, if I distill that down, most teams are down on full strength. Games are close. So it sounds like it's going to be a pretty cracking season.
Hell yeah.
Cool. Absolutely. It's going to be really good. And I haven't seen one roster that I haven't liked. I think the teams having been a season in, I think they have a feeling for kind of what they're looking for, who's a good fit. Like I alluded to earlier, the Phi have completely revamped. One of the coaches was saying they recruited to the style of play that they wanted, and it seems like that's playing in their favor right now. But, I think also what's been huge, too, is that some of the locals that we had mentioned earlier that weren't in the league last season, I think kind of like someone like, Panina or Tegan, they were off doing their separate things last season, but they got a chance to get just to watch and observe from afar what this league was. And it was cracking then, too. And, if people haven't started watching, start now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the innovation of the Rapid League has been really cool as well, especially because that's broadcast on Sky Sport with commentators, so it's treated the exact same as Tauihi. It's looking to be a really exciting season, despite complications around Rapid League and questions people have. I think it's set itself up to be a really exciting season, and it's gained a bit of traction so far, I'd say.
Fundamentally, I think it's been great. Just if you look at it on the whole level, like you said, Maia, I think the innovation's been a real highlight because, they're getting that same treatment. And, it's just so fun. And there's a lot of joy, and you see people playing together that haven't played together for ages. But basketball is fun. But the women that I've talked to who are part of it, they said, I'm having fun again. And you can see it. And that makes it fun for the fans, at least, from my perspective.
You mentioned something, Maia, that they're calling the Rapid League games. Is it the same commentary team that's doing the main game? Or do they use a different commentary team?
Same commentators, they just stay on.
They just stay on.
Yeah, and the referees too. So the referees stay on and just get paid an extra buck. Yeah, so I don't know how much they get paid, but I think there was an idea to have Rapid League referees that were younger, so on the edge of being able to be uplifted into the Tauihi League in each area, but I don't think every area had enough.
Okay.
So I think the referees just have to take one for the team and have a big night.
Hard earned.
Okay, so
they're working hard.
So before we move off the Tauihi League, one question. It's only been 2 rounds, so not everybody's played everybody else. Out of the games that are out there to come, from each of you, which is the game that you are most looking forward to seeing? Now, I'm guessing Linden's really excited about one here.
Oh no, this is I have a schedule up and I I can't choose. Give me 2 seconds. Probably over to me.
I can give you my answer because I've got one came straight to my head. So Linden, you ponder over there.
Over here.
Spoken like a true South Islander, I am fizzing for the Hui Hovis Puakai game coming on Thursday because it's their first time the 2 South Island teams are meeting. Yeah, so obviously that's always a super hyped game, and since the Hui Ho have been so successful this year and the Puakai seeking their first win, and the Puakai are now going to be almost at full strength, so that's going to be a very exciting game. And the Puakai first home game sold out, so hopefully that can be repeated again on Thursday. And yeah, I'm I'm kind of jumping in my seat even thinking about it.
More sellout games this year. That's what I'm hoping for. For those who have not been in Couch Cauldron and Christchurch, it gets loud. And they do an amazing job. Bring your earbuds if you don't like loud noise. Is going to be up. And so I got that's going to be an unforgettable atmosphere. So I guess.
Linden, what's your choice?
Oh boy, the drum roll, the moment of truth. I'm looking at. I think it's going to be tight. I think. If I was to pick one of the hat, I'm quite interested with the Puakai and the Phi, only because the Phi are really intriguing me this year. Again, to the McKenna. So I want to do a rematch of that game, to be honest.
Me too, and I hope she doesn't hit 8 threes against Puakai again.
32 points, baby. But yeah, I need to see that rematch just because that first game had me jumping out of my seat, so I'm not sure if that's cheating, but that's definitely the next matchup that I'm fizzing to see.
All right, guys, so look, last thing that I want to talk about is the performance of New Zealand on the world stage. Right, obviously, FIBA Women's Asia Cup, 4th place, important for Olympic qualifiers, bronze at FIBA under 16s. It's almost like New Zealand went through a really quiet stage and you're back with a vengeance in hoops world. So from the New Zealand standpoint, how has it all been received?
I mean, it's going, it gives a kind of a sense of pride because obviously we've struggled on the world stage for a while, and I think a big question in New Zealand basketball has been, what are we not doing that is making us perform so lackluster on the world stage? And like, what are we missing? I know a lot of New Zealand basketball staff have kind of tried to see what other countries do in order to prepare their team so well for the world stage, even for the Asia Cup. So to see a 4th place at the Asia Cup by the Tall Ferns, and then the 3rd place at the Under-16 Asia Cup, they beat China in a pool game, which I don't think I've ever seen that happen from a New Zealand team. Like, I literally do not remember.
I don't think anybody did. I think we were all...
No. Like, I remember seeing New Zealand playing China tonight, and I was like, oh, man, like, that sucks for them. And then I woke up, and we'd won that game by 20, and I just, like, I couldn't believe it, because I have genuinely never seen a New Zealand team beat China before. So to see, like, us perform so well on the world stage is, like, so... It gives a sense of pride, but it also gives you, like, such a light for the future. And if this is what we've progressed to now, like, imagine what we can progress to in the future.
Yeah, I'm going to go off the back of that, Maya, because holy crap. I mean, it was amazing to see them. Like, they've got, and I think just the sense of equality, and, you know, there is good development happening here in New Zealand, and, you know, you don't expect to plant to see and eat the fruit in the same day. You know, I think now we're starting to see the talent really is starting to spark, and the work is paying off, because we also mentioned the Basketball Without Borders camp, the multiple athletes who have been sent around the world to go compete in that, and then obviously, you know, the Under-16 Cup and everything. So it's just been crazy. When I mentioned, like, some of those players are also development players in Tauihi, and so they're going to take that experience and bring it back. But man, just so much. It was just so cool to see, and just buzzing for those girls on both those occasions to, you know, to play so high. And, you know, and somebody actually had a conversation with somebody during the Asia Cup about, you know, just where's New Zealand rank in terms of the Asian countries. And I said, you know, don't let them fool you, because it's a lot different. New Zealand plays a lot different, but like you said, Maya, you know, there are people on the ground here who are working tirelessly to go figure out, try and crack the code, I guess, a little bit, so to speak, on, you know, what are these other countries doing, and how can we use that to our advantage, and, you know, what do we have and what can we work on, you know, so when it does come time to show out internationally, they go out and do it, and then boom, that's 20 points on China. I thought it was an alternate dimension at first. I had to take myself to make sure I wasn't sleeping, so I wasn't dreaming, but, you know, super happy for them. It's hard not to smile.
Yeah.
And you love, and the girls all are involved are amazing. So it's yeah, just buzzing for the staff and Mel Bennett. So yeah, and I'll say shout out to Mel Bennett too, who was leading that team in Jordan. So if you see her around with the fly, you know, make sure to give her a clap, because she you know, she led that team.
How much do you guys think last season's Tauihi League has helped in the performances internationally, particularly at the Women's Asia Cup?
I think it's definitely helped a lot. Obviously, whatever experience you can get in scrimmaging, like, you know, the talent last year was, and the quality was really good. So I think, you know, somebody that we've seen a lot becoming more of a household name is Crystal Ledger-Walker. You know, Charlize, her sister, is doing her thing over in the U.S., but, you know, I think having Tauihi and watching Crystal blossom there and apply her training and go to WNBL, I mean, I think that just Tauihi was the foundation there. So I think it's definitely helped. And then having seen some of those players, you know, and then match up again in the Asia Cup, you know, some may not be on the same team in that situation, but, you know, it's definitely been really good quality, and it's only, I think, helped improve the level of the game and the standard.
I mean, I think there's always going to be development and improvement of Tall Ferns players when they get the opportunity to play in a professional league against the imports as well. Like, obviously the top New Zealand players will have the opportunity to match up and learn from the imports, and obviously being challenged in that way and then developing themselves in a professional environment, I think that, like, definitely spiked some improvement. And then obviously, like, Panina playing in the WNBL, and then Charlize playing high-level college basketball, like, I think they all kind of had their catalyst in development that definitely boosted the talent of the Tall Ferns team, and not just the stars, but the role players as well. So you're like, Ezra McGoldrick had an awesome tournament as a role player, and that's kind of like so valuable. Not dominant performance like Charlize or Panina, but that supporting cast can be of a high quality as well.
Point to interject too, and I know in the last live pod we was a lot of Australia based and talking about the elbows, and as it should be, but one of the things I wanted to say on there, we talked about players who really stood out. And I think who Tauihi helped in that foundation was Ezra McGoldrick. Because Ezra started in that China game, which is a deep team. But she is, she's really worked on her game and really improved over the years. And I think last year she got some good chances, and she's definitely capitalized on that. And, playing 3x3 in the offseason here on the Quest Tour. And, so she's taking and capitalizing on those opportunities. It really paid off. And, she was making some really good plays against a really tough Chinese team. I mean, it's done leaps and bounds.
Okay. Obviously, guys, we want to check in again, sort of maybe around the midpoint of the Tauihi League, see how things are going, see how things have developed, see how things are going with the Rapid League and how it's blending in with the main game as well. Because I think there's going to be some really interesting developments in that one as we go forward, particularly given the way you guys have described the game. It seems like it's going to, as the season goes on, it's going to push some teams in terms of how they rotate the roster around to be able to make both games, particularly given there's a point for the main competition on the table at every game. So, yeah, we'll do that. And obviously, again, towards the end of the season, we'd like to do another one of these just to sort of, as we're getting down to that really pointy end, to have a good chat about how it's all gone.
I do also want to, if I can, Paul, just to give just for people to go and support, and if nothing else, just people have an awareness of it. Just that they may have noticed on social media, if they're following the teams, the 5 Tauihi teams, but also the league, and still have seen a social media tile around the 17,680 nights of July, and how Tauihi is partnering with the Women's Refuge here in New Zealand to provide support for women who need shelter and otherwise safety. So I know a number of teams are getting involved, and in the Kahu, I think there's going to be several half-court shots or something like that at halftime to that effect, where they're going to be raising money. And I know Tokomano and Queens have been posting about it, and Lahoiho, so it's been a league-wide thing, but it's certainly worth noting, that the league's getting behind and that, people are, wanting to support. So good on them for doing that.
Great. It's important for people to know about this, particularly, get to the games, support the teams as much as possible, particularly in a worthy cause like this. So, guys, thanks so much for your time. It's been great having you back on the show. Maya, we want to thank you because obviously it's been a little bit inclement, the weather in your neck of the woods, I believe.
Yes, raining cats and dogs.
And so, obviously, thanks for being able to make it for this show. And, yeah, we're definitely looking forward to getting you back about midpoint so we can have a look and see how the Tauihi League is progressing.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. And any chance to talk about women's basketball was a good opportunity, so I'm always here to talk about it.
Awesome. Thanks.
Loving it.
Shooting the Breeze can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Don't forget to subscribe and share the podcast with all your friends.